Good morning, it's 4:30 a.m. I'm here in the lab at the London Crew Winery. Today we're going to do the first harvest of the season and you're going to follow us on our journey from our winery in central London down to where we're going to pick our fruit in West Marden in West Sussex. So hope you enjoy seeing how an urban winery works here in London.
Welcome to Vintage 2022. Today we're harvesting the Pinot Noir Precoce and the Pinot Gris. This site is one of the great sites for London Crew. We've been working with this site now for 4 years. The location we're in is West Marden, West Sussex, just near Portsmouth, so it's well protected from frost. This site has a great slope. You can see sort of down into the valley. Absolutely stunning day. It's beautifully warm and the fruit quality this year is exceptionally good. Today we're harvesting the Pinot Noir Precoce and the Pinot Gris from this site. The Pinot Noir Precoce is an early ripening clone of Pinot Noir, so it really suits the English climate. You can see we're harvesting in September. I do obsess about the soils a little bit that I'm working with, so in the vineyards I'm working with. This site is very special actually. You don't see too many sites like this. So most importantly, it's free draining. You can always, even in winter, you can drive tractors on this ground. It's always easy to get in and out. It's easy to weed manage. It's very poor soils, but it also has these sort of flinty rocks. So you'll see all the churches and the walls in the towns around here are made of these sort of rocks. These rocks are fabulous for many reasons. Firstly, for me, it's about keeping weeds away naturally, but also they warm up during the day and they actually allow the maturity of the site to develop. Most of our focus here is red winemaking. So for England, that's rare. And this is the answer. This is the secret, I think. It's these rocks. It's the same story as Chateauneuf de Pape, but English version. The rocks heat up during the day and then they release the heat at night. So you actually get a maturation continuing during the night time. Vineyards are quite separate. There's a vineyard this way, about 4 miles, and that's about it in this area. So we aren't a monoculture vineyard region like Bordeaux or Burgundy or lots of places in Australia where miles and miles as far as you see there's different vineyards. Here we are the vineyard in West Marden. If you type in West Marden in Google, this is the only one pretty much here. What's great about that is we have a lot of mixed use agriculture around us. So you'll see there's a bit of an amphitheatre here, large cropping fields behind us. Behind where the cameras are filming, there's actually a mixed woodland which has woodpeckers and there's lots of biodiversity over there. There's no one that has a vineyard like this in the UK. A little 1 hectare at the end of the house with the woodlands and the forests and all those things around us. And this just gives the whole area a really distinct English vibe, I suppose. It doesn't feel like another region I've ever worked in or another site I've ever worked in. It's really quite a unique location. So welcome to the Pinot Noir Precoce vineyard. This is about half of the vineyard we're in now, so about 0.6 of a hectare. From this little section, that's 3,000 vines, we'll typically harvest about 1 kilo per vine. So you'll see these vines actually have a little, probably more than that. So we have 22 people harvesting the vineyard today. From those 22 people, we're expecting about 4 to 5 tons from this 3,000 vines. So a little bit more than we even expected. So it's a great year for Pinot Noir Precoce. You can see the canopy here is green and lush. There's no disease pressure at all. It's very, very clean. So this is the best I've seen it since we've worked with this vineyard. So the best in 3 years now. Right now the sun is hitting the leaves. These charge up with the sun. Convert that to sugars, and then we call it sugar loading. It transports the sugar from the vine, from the leaves into the berries. There's 3 things we're looking for before we harvest. We're looking for phenolic ripeness. That just flavors taste good. They don't taste green, they don't taste vegetal, they taste like delicious fruit, I suppose. But in the vineyard you do taste, critically, the sugar and the acid as well. So the final thing we do is we chew them and we test for acid. For a red wine, 9, 10, 11% potential alcohol is a minimum. So I have to wait until the acids come down low enough before we can harvest. At the same time, we need ripe enough flavors to harvest. So those 3 factors, so sugars, phenolic ripeness, and acidity need to be just right for harvest. Someone's job is to move the leaves out of the way so you can see the fruit and the quality. And this allows airflow through the fruit zone and actually prevents mildews and problems during harvest. It also makes harvesting a bit easier. So the crews who are harvesting today, they'll have their hand under here and they're literally just snipping the stem and putting that into a picking bin. This will be simply destemmed in the cellar this evening and put into a tank for fermentation. Right now it's tasting very ripe and the acids are perfect for harvest. so we harvest. Welcome to the Pinot Gris. The Pinot Gris, as the name suggests, isn't red, isn't white. It's actually quite an orangey pink colour. Pinot Gris on this side is quite rare in the UK. There's a few producers growing it. Noel really has a vision. So Noel and Daniela, who own the vineyard, they had a vision really for still wines and for sort of pushing the boundaries of what everyone else is doing in the UK. In great years, we can make amazing still wines from this site. In cooler years like last year, we make sparkling from everything. The Gris this year is very ripe for England as well. So sometimes we don't get this colour. In cooler vintages, it stays quite green. But in warmer years like this year, 2022, it has this sort of glowing pink colour. And this will translate into the wine. I'll actually work to make sure we capture that in the wine through a bit of skin contact, probably 3 days skin contact, some foot stomping, some old school techniques to bring out the texture and flavour of Pinot Gris and sort of amplify what's possible. Canopy looks super beautiful and healthy. So these vines are in really, really good nick. And then finally, obviously, the berries are looking really good this year. So again, 2022 is looking to be a very good year. The vineyard manager and Noel can relax, the work's done. It's really game on for 2022. Welcome to the third and final section in the vineyard. So now this is Chardonnay. You'll see the colour of the Chardonnay is still quite green. When it gets closer to ripeness or more maturity, these start to yellow up a little bit and become a bit softer. The only way to test really is to eat them. So I'm constantly eating fruit in the vineyard and spitting seeds and chewing the skins and trying to assess the ripeness. Here we're still quite high acid, it's probably too high for even sparkling base wine. These leaves, these are capturing the sun and these are the sinks where the berries are actually taking that sugar. If you have a lot of fruit, it takes more sun and more time. So the balance has to be right between the canopy and the fruit volume to get the maturation we need. So here it looks about right. There's no gaps in the canopy. There's a few leaves, but there's pretty much leaves perfectly positioned, capturing as much sun as possible. A week and a half we'll be harvesting and making sparkling base wine from this. So this will be the Blanc de Blanc 2022 single vineyard from West Marden.
So we've harvested here very early in the morning. We don't want to pick around midday because the berries will warm up, and you can see we've got nice clusters, nice big bunches. So this is a really healthy pick and it looks like a great harvest for 2022. So we're going to take everything over here to the loading bay on the pallets and just have a look at how these bins are designed. It doesn't fall down, so you can stack them. So 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So that's half a ton of fruit right there. Yeah, here's Noel, our octogenarian owner, and he's improvised his lawnmower to use it to bring fruit. Very good improvised use of a lawnmower. It's really important to get the fruit into the shade. We obviously don't have refrigerated trucks. One of the lucky things about the UK is it doesn't get really hot. If you were harvesting in Spain, Italy, Australia, California, the temperatures get really high and you don't want your fruit sitting out in the sun. Load it over here and into the shade, and we get it ready for collection. So we're back in London at the Urban Winery. This is the UK's first urban winery, London Crew. So we have a boutique wine facility. Boutique meaning that our capacity is only about 30,000 bottles. Due to disease pressure and cold weather in 2021, we did about 6,000 bottles. And this year, because we've had a really good year in 2022, we're actually going to do 3 times that amount. So we're close to nearly 18,000 bottles we'll get in. Fundamentally, we're not that different to many wineries across the world. The only great thing is, if you're in London, you can hop on a tube and you can come visit us. We're just about 5-minute walk from West Brompton Station. Collected our fruit early in the morning. Now it's late afternoon. Now it's just like being at any other winery in the world. Difference is ours has had a little journey from the countryside into the city. So let's take a look inside and see how we process the fruit.
Bacchus, first fruit into the cellar really this year. It has great acidity, but not too much, just the right amount. Into the press. This is a pneumatic press. If you look inside, there's an inflatable bag. The bag inflates with a pump in this red thing. It will push the grapes against the wall on the opposing side, and the juice comes out these holes here. It's very simple. It squeezes about as hard as you can squeeze with your hand. About 1 bar would be the maximum pressure that you would be squeezing at. So it's a bit like a washing machine. This press will have a cycle that we set it on. For Bacchus, it's very thick-skinned, and it takes a fair bit to squeeze the juice out. So unlike the sparkling wine or some of the other wines that we make here, we do actually do a hard cycle on Bacchus to squeeze out a lot of juice. So it takes about 3 hours per cycle. And then now we just push the grapes around to all the corners, load it up really to the absolute rim. So you can see the edges aren't full. As an urban winery, we're uprooted, as in we don't have a vineyard. We don't have a place that we must produce wine from every year. One of the best things about being an urban winery, one of the key advantages is we source from where the fruit's great every year. We're not tied to a location. The main thing for us, it gives us a chance to experiment because we can find the fruits suited to the styles we want to make. We're not tied to having to make wine from one site the same way every year. There she goes, first press for the year. Boom. It's deflating, it's always the noisiest part. It's always very loud in here. All right, so the press is now running. The berries are being squeezed gently, and the juice actually goes into the tray underneath. From the tray, we pump through these red hoses into the white wine tanks, which are the tall, thin tanks. These are all temperature controlled, state-of-the-art tanks, which are fabulous for white wine, sparkling wine, so the base wines for sparkling wine. So straight from the tray to those tall tanks. As opposed to your right, there's the red wine tank, which is, you'll see the door is on the bottom, which allows us to actually take the skins out and the seeds out, and we call it a dig out, essentially, before pressing. Boom. First press of 2022, Bacchus. It's already super aromatic, so this year's going to be great. It might seem weird that someone's getting into the tank. Darren's preparing the tanks so that they're perfectly clean when the grapes go in. Concrete tanks have a little bit more labour involved to maintain them and prepare them for filling. They're 3 tonnes, 3,000 litres for storage, so they're a really good vessel for fermentation. Being so long and deep, what happens is the yeast has a really good contact with the wine. So if you age wine in these tanks, they actually develop a great yeasty character. But also, because they're so insulated, the walls are so thick, they don't change temperature inside, which means that later on, I don't need to filter, I don't need to do certain things that you might have to in a stainless tank. This is like giving birth to Darren now. So sorry, mate, that's your that's your cameo for the London Crew video, sorry.
London Crew is the UK's first urban winery, and we were founded by Cliff Roberson of Roberson Wine Merchant. We're very lucky to be an independent family-run business. Cliff is 82 and he comes into work every day and supports us. Cliff had an incredible career as a wine merchant. He's travelled all over the world, and what Cliff saw when he was over in North America was that they actually started to use these as event spaces. So even tonight we have our tasting room in next door, and while we're processing fruit in one side of the building, we're hosting a group of 20 people for a private party. So the beauty of the business model is because we're in a central location, we have a high value for lots of different events. So we have corporate hire, private parties, and all sorts of educational activities. We do wine clubs, winemaker for a day. It really gives us lots of different revenue streams as a business model. Pie has arrived.
Okay, so this is the big job for tonight. This is the destemmer. I'll open it up so you can actually have a look inside. Maybe you can see it from the angle. but it's not that complicated, but it is pretty wild. The fruit goes in the top here, it comes through, and these paddles, these metal paddles, spin one way, and the white cylinder spins the opposite way. And what happens essentially is just the berries fall off. Come down here, so they're separated, and the berries fall underneath the destemmer. So we're ending up with undamaged whole berries, and the idea of this is that in England our stems are quite green and they're sort of have an astringency and they can actually influence the flavour of the wine quite a lot. So I don't use a lot of stems in our red wines here. So this device is really good for getting the stems away from the berries. From here we lift the berries up from the tub that catches it underneath. We transport it to above the tank with the forklift and we literally just dump them in. Tonight we're doing 4.5 tons of Pinot Noir. So this size of destemmer, that should only take an hour or so. The slowest part will be actually lifting it up over the tank, positioning it carefully and dropping the fruit in. Ready for action.